In this video, I'll be talking about how to export your UVs and some good practice that you should keep in mind when texturing. So as you can see here, I've got a model fully ready. It's even got its UVs fully unwrapped. It's always important to UV unwrap everything before you start texturing. So now this is ready to be textured. Now the first thing you need to do is export your UVs. Now to do that, you go to Polygons, UV Snapshot, File Name, press Browse, and give it its name. There, DAW underscore UV. Now if you've successfully created a Maya project, Maya will automatically save all your UVs to the image folder. So I'll just save that and give it its sizes. Now when creating textures for an object, they are always within the power of 2. So it'll be 512 by 512, 1024 by 1024, 2048 by 2048, and the highest here, 4096 by 4096. Now what I always say is go big and then reduce later, because if you've got, say, a 5 by 12 map for something and it doesn't look right, the resolution is quite low, the best thing to do is always start off high, create really high detailed textures, and then reduce the size if need be. So I'll go for this one I might go for 2048. I don't think it'll be any bigger than that. 2048. Make sure it's a PNG. PNG has sort of like transparencies. You just want the UVs, you don't want the grey background really. That should be ready. And that's been exported now. So as you can see here, I've already fully UV unwrapped this door. So as you can see, I've already fully textured this door. I'm going to go into how I textured it very soon, but right now I want to talk about good practice when texturing. So if you go to the right hand side here, you can see all the layers. That's where all the images are. So if I turn that off, that's for the doors, the sides here, the metal framing. Now it's extremely important, not just in Photoshop but in Maya as well, to name everything. Name your layers, name your objects, because again, you're not always going to be working by yourself, and even when you're working by yourself, you need to know what is what. If I wanted to go back into this PSD file and edit things around, if I had hundreds of layers or even 10 layers, if I didn't know what's in those layers, it's going to take a while just sifting through all the layers to find the right one that I want to edit. So always go in and edit your layer names. So if you just go to where the name is, double click on it, you can change its name. So door metal frame nuts. So as you can see, it just took only a few seconds, and again, it just saves a lot of time rather than me just painstakingly going through each one trying to find out what is what. If I know what their names are, I can just quickly go into it, start editing it if need be. Another way you can sort out your layers is by adding groups. So if you go to this little icon here, the group one, you've got the groups here. Again, name it. So components. I can just add all of these elements into this group here, and see I've cleaned up my layers even more. So it's, it's not too cluttered. If I have all my normals and my speculars and the original components that I used to make this texture all down here, again, it's just cluttering this. It's best to have groups. It's best to have groups just to keep your PSDs well organized. So you can just quickly go into them. And if you want to hide the groups, if you just press the I here, it hides everything within that group. So it can be useful if you're making extra components for the specular maps or for the normals. You can just hide that if you don't want that to be seen. So if I go into the original one here, you can see that I've actually created all of these groups, named them all each individually so I know what everyone is. I've got the normals here, I've got the original elements as well. I always say keep the original elements together, make copies of everything. So as you can see here, if I just turn off the diffuse here, you can see, you should be able to, oh, just move that, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can see here that was the original door color. I didn't really like that. If I turn this one here, you can see that if I've got extra elements here that were used to create the look that I've got here. Having these original elements in place could mean that if you don't like how it is, you can just go back to the original elements, copy it over, create a new diffuse out of that. It's just a good way of not backtracking, trying to recreate your original texture. If you've kept your original components together, you can just go back, edit a few areas that need be. Also, it's important to remember to always keep a hold of your PSD files. If you don't like the look of a texture in, say, Unity, UDK, or Maya, you might want to change it. It's always handy to keep the original PSDs. As you can see here, this is my source image file, right here. I've got a folder dedicated to all the original PSDs. I have every single one that I've done for my texture. So if I don't like the look of one thing, I can just literally just go into there and change it. And again, make sure when you save your finished textures out, that you actually name them properly as well. As you can see here, they're all named, so I know exactly what they are. If you go here, you see that I know this is the diffuse, it's named properly. This one here has an N for normals. Again, naming them correctly just saves you a lot of time, so you know which texture goes to which object. If you name them correctly, it just saves a lot of time rather than just sifting through a lot of stuff thinking what works with what.